I'm Walter Cronkite. Today, the 20th century presents its regular feature, Man of the Month. Not one man, but 350,000 men, the draftees in our armed forces. From draft board to mustering out, from Topeka, Kansas to Vietnam. This is the story of what is happening to 30,000 young men every month. The Man of the Month, the draftee.
So hard to please. Look around. Time to see what's become of me. While I looked around for my possibilities, I was so hard. Look around. Time to see what's become of me. While I looked around for my possibilities, I was so hard to please. Look around. So hard to please. Look around. Time to see what's become of me.
It begins here at Local Board 71 in Topeka, Kansas. One of 4,000 Selective Service boards, the draft boards, where every young man of 18 must register and which dispense the magic numbers. 1A, in, or 17 other classifications, deferred. The Topeka board is typical. 3 men selected by the governor of their state, appointed by the president, and unpaid. Chairman Charles Bennett heads his own construction company, has served this board since 1940. The other 2 members, Raymond Coulterman and Arthur Seville, are an insurance company president and a banker. Why do they do it? Detractors of the draft have said it gives them a feeling of power. Board members wince at this. Somebody's got to do it, they say, no matter how long the hours or how painful the decisions. In some areas, abusive phone calls to board members in the middle of the night, bribe offers, even personal threats have been reported. As Vietnam heats up, as the armed forces approach 3 million men, 350,000 of them draftees, the manpower tug will be felt down the line, right down to Local Board 71, Topeka.
No change in the classification.
There has been much criticism of the draft, lack of uniformity, wasteful of manpower, the law used as a weapon to stop dissent, undemocratic, favoring rich boy over poor boy. In Washington, this reporter spoke with the National Director, Lieutenant General Louis B. Hershey, who at 72 has headed Selective Service for nearly 25 years.
Well, in a situation such as our present crisis in Vietnam, which is not yet a war emergency so proclaimed by the president, is there some justice in the claim that this is a poor man's draft and a rich man's war?
Well, of course, one of the things about it, I will say, that they undoubtedly had a knowledge of history. The individuals said that because that's been said about every war about that ever occurred in the United States and everywhere else. And there's no question about the fact that some people are handicapped by their obligation. I would point out, however, that we have about 5 million that are in 4F and 1Y. And more than half of them are in there because they did not have educational opportunities. And therefore, they come entirely from the other side of the tracks. And of course, it is true that some proportion of the 2 million that are in college come from families that are well-to-do. Now, if you don't want college graduates, it's quite another matter. But I think if you put it to vote anywhere, you'll find, I think the last time I saw it, somebody's test, 70 or 80% were favoring college deferment. I hear uproar that you shouldn't take anybody, not a solitary person out of college. 2 million, and they must be left. Well, of course, on the other side, somebody wants to take them all out. And we end up, as you do in a democracy, somewhere in between.
Representative Thomas B. Curtis, Republican of Missouri. The reporter, John Meyer.
What do you think of the college deferment situation? Does this create an elite, the case of a poor man's draft for a rich man's war?
Boy, you couldn't say it more clearly, only not necessarily rich in money, but rich in IQ. Just because a person's born with a higher IQ shouldn't give him an exemption over a person with a lower IQ when it comes to risking your life. And this is what, of course, military service can lead to. Now you're getting back to where I felt the basic flaw in our manpower laws occurred back in 1951. And I have made this statement that there was a deal made with the top leaders of our educational institutions, in effect saying, if you will let us have the elite, as far as the IQ boys are concerned, we'll go along with the other aspects of this manpower, the draft law, the universal military training law, and from then on we didn't get any help, those of us who were trying to get a broader based and a more comprehensive program for military manpower and meeting the needs in the civilian sector got no more help from the leaders of our higher educational institutions. This is fundamentally wrong. I'd rather see us go back to World War I of pulling the names out of the fishbowl, because then everyone in our society ought to undergo the same kind of risk to life and limb.
Whatever its shortcomings, the draft is averaging nearly 30,000 a month in its calls. The Armed Forces Station in Kansas City, Missouri.
Practice question P4. The first picture shows the piece of cardboard that is...
For 4.5 million American men, 40% of those sent to examining stations by draft boards. The call to the colors ends right here. They flunk the mental or physical exams. The standards are set by the Department of Defense, not by Selective Service. A 100-question test. Sample question, the man is tall. Does that mean he is high, low, or thin? Of the total number rejected, almost half fail this mental test. A few are turned down on moral grounds, criminal records, drug addicts, alcoholics. And the remainder, a dismal 50%, fail the physical. This in the richest nation in the world, the well-fed, superabundant, prospering United States. About a week after this physical, each man's local board will be notified. He is 1A, 4F, unfit for service, or 1Y, limited fitness. Sometime after that, the 1As will receive notice to report for induction. The day comes at 5 a.m. on a raw morning in Topeka when the handful from local board 71 leaves for induction.
I wish I was there to see it.
It's a scene that has been enacted millions of times in the bus stations of America. The boys wearing their oldest clothes, the parents with that mixture of pride and fear, and everyone covering up how they really feel. Small talk and awkward little jokes. Bus station goodbyes at 5 in the morning, and no talk of 2 years in the Army and 4 years in the Reserve and Vietnam.
Larry Taylor.
Kansas City at 6:45 a.m. The same station where they took their pre-induction examinations. If their first physical was within the last year, the second exam is just a casual look. Otherwise, they are given a complete new examination. Next, they are asked about choice of service: Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine.
Form here, this is your preference of service. If you want to make a choice of what service you go into, make 4 choices. First, second, third, and fourth. Put 1, 2, 3, and 4, whichever order you want.
The question is academic this month. Everything's full but the Army.
First off,
Now the oath that will put them in the armed forces. Actually, it is not the oath, but a voluntary act, a response that does it. The order for each man to take 1 step forward.
you will take 1 step forward as your name is called, and such step will constitute your induction into the armed forces indicated. Pettit, David B. Taylor, Larry D.
1 step forward prevents a man from raising his hand and either not repeating or mumbling the oath, then saying, "I didn't swear to anything." Once a man steps, he's in the Army at $87.90 a month.
If you will stand straight, feet together, raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, repeat your full name.
John Taylor.
Do solemnly swear or affirm
Do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States.
At 6:30 p.m., the men who arrived in Kansas City that morning as civilians leave as privates in the United States Army. Their destination, Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, 4 hours away. Dressed as they are, they feel neither like civilians nor soldiers. Their welcome at 11 that night makes some wonder if they've taken the right bus.
You'll be here for approximately 5 days. Here your records are initiated, you receive your clothing, you get a haircut, and become initiated to the Army, so to speak. The Department of the Army and Fort Leonard Wood regulations prohibit an enlisted man from having certain items in their possession. I'm going to read a list of these items now. If you have any of them, please come forward and put them in a box provided. First on the list is narcotics, drugs or pills not prescribed by a doctor. Second on the list is hypodermics or syringes, chains, rubber hoses, brass knuckles, alcoholic beverages, beer, wine, whiskey, anything left from the trip, playing cards, dice. The next item should fill my box. Obscene or pornographic literature. The Army considers a woman in a bikini or less to be pornographic. This should include all types of girly magazines, certain pocket books, these paperback novels. Some of them are obscene and pornographic. I think you know what I'm talking about. Men, this is your last chance to get rid of this stuff free.
Good morning, men. I'm Sergeant Sauer. I'll be one of your drill instructors during your 8 weeks of basic here at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
The next morning, meet your sergeant at 5 a.m.
Early, probably a lot earlier than some of you have been used to. Normal wake-up time is about 0500. You'll find out that basic training, in most cases, to you is going to be easy. For some individual, it's going to be tough. After your basic training here, that you'll probably see a big change in yourself.
The barber has his orders right down to the wood. The Army haircut has been mechanized, streamlined, almost automated. The machine inhales the hair, none on the floor. And with 7,000 inductees a month at this camp, they could pile up enough to stuff mattresses. The new look costs each recruit 80 cents. The dread needle is being used less for inoculations. A pressure gun fires a tiny serum projectile on a jet stream of air. The recruit hasn't begun to be a soldier yet, but he'll begin feeling like one now. He'll get his uniforms. The day when, if you can get it on, it fits, is over. The Department of Defense has computed that it costs $3,087 for the basic training of every man, and a good part of that goes into making him the best outfitted soldier in the world.
Remember, when the command platoon is given, there's only one thing you're going to do, and that is come to the position of attention when the command attention is given. So you'll automatically...
Becoming a soldier begins with a fundamental. Learn to stand at attention. And that fixture of another day, the loudmouth, bully boy platoon sergeant, has been replaced by a somewhat quieter, scrupulously trained drill instructor.
Make sure that you move and make it in one movement. Hands coming to your side and heels coming together. Heads, up. Bring your heels together. Look down. See if your toes are pointing at a 45-degree angle. When you're satisfied with that, look back up. Pick out a focus point on the building or someplace in the direction to your front. Knees straight without stiffening.
If you finish before time is called, check your work. But
Classification tests, 8 hours in 2 days, trying to fit men and jobs. Enlistees are allowed to choose either their specialization or the overseas area in which they'll serve. Draftees are not. They are assigned as needed, mostly in the infantry or other combat branches. Finally, a classification interview which will probably determine what this man does for the next 2 years.
Algebra?
Yes.
Any chemistry or physics?
No.
General science?
Yes.
See, you attended a trade school. Did you complete this course?
Well, it just run through school. You go half day to regular high school and half day to trade school.
See, this gives you a little experience in welding. Would you like to be a welder or something like this?
Yes.
Very good. I've indicated your preferences as stated, Taylor. I've recommended that you be trained as a light weapons infantryman. Do you have any questions?
Basic combat training begins for B Company, 2nd Battalion, 3rd Training Brigade, who, for the next 8 weeks, will call themselves and be called Bravo 2-3. First assignment to barracks, a far cry from wooden shacks that veterans of World War II remember at Wood, Dix, or Shelby.
All you want, damn you, start off with here, Sergeant.
The jammed-in barracks of the old Army are being replaced by 2 to 8 man squad rooms with hard tile floors, modern heating, limitless hot water, and private toilets. The age-old ritual of just how to make up a bed has resisted all change. This is PT, physical training, and no one has to hold up a sign to indicate that these are raw recruits. This will change, and the men will change with it.
What? Right.
The Army knows what it has to do and how long it has to do it. 44 training days, 352 training hours to make a civilian look, act, and think like a soldier.
Bravo, 2-3.
Always the drill instructor in his old-style campaign hat is there. Regular Army, back so straight he makes you sure you're slouching. Eyes everywhere, never quite satisfied.
Firm. Forward. Firm.
After carrying a rifle on his shoulder and slinging it around at drills, the recruit in his 4th week is given a chance to use it. It's the most important possession he has, and the Army tries hard to make him use it well. The rifle is the M14, lighter, easier to clean, and with considerably more firepower than the old M1s of World War II.
You will start on Mount Wilson and you will cease on Mount Wilson.
Hand-to-hand combat. This was something called a pugil stick, preparation for more serious business with rifle and bayonet.
Okay, the 3rd platoon. That platoon got it with a long thrust through the head.
Vietnam, where the enemy can be next to you before you know it, skills with a bayonet and rifle butt can be a life and death matter.
Got them both. Vertical, let's go, Terry! Vertical, let's go, Terry! Horizontal butt stroke series. Ho! Keep that elbow up behind the weapon now. Ready? Ho!
After basic training, the draftee may find himself here at Fort Polk, Louisiana for advanced training. The average draftee has only one chance in 10 of being sent to Vietnam. But a draftee sent here is almost certain to go if he is assigned to what the Army calls Vietnam-oriented infantry training, a 9-week course. This, plus his 8 weeks of basic, plus a little leave, means that a man drafted today could be in Vietnam in about 20 weeks. In his last week at Polk, the man in this special course lives in the field. His officers and most of his sergeants are Vietnam veterans.
What you are actually, the first thing you have to do is what? Secure the particular area that you're going to search. Now, whenever you find a booby trap of any kind, what is the first thing that you must do? You leave it alone. Leave that booby trap alone. You do not know nothing about it. The first thing you must do is notify the squad leader. Any questions, boys? All right. Work the way you're going to work it. It's up to you.
A village shrine. The innocent soldier who has read about codes of honor and rules of war might not be suspicious. People don't booby-trap religious objects, even in war. In Vietnam, they do, with real explosives.
You found something, didn't you? Now, what did I tell you? I told you before you lift anything up, make sure there's nothing around the edge. But people did do it. And that's one good way to learn.
What the Army is pounding into these men, with as much authenticity as possible, is a new and cruel kind of warfare. Counterinsurgency, the war of the guerrilla, ambush, counter-ambush, patrolling. One of the most delicate of operations is to take a village and then begin search and seizure, avoiding the booby traps, moving inside of the huts and digging the VC out of the escape tunnels. Black pajamaed Viet Cong in this operation are U.S. Army sergeants who know just what to do. They saw it all in Vietnam. There are 3 Vietnamese villages at Polk. This is one. What these men are seeing here and what they are experiencing is as close as possible to what they will face in Vietnam in a few weeks. Search and seizure. Hands up and march off won't do in this war. VC prisoners often conceal weapons and explosives on their persons, will trade their lives for 5 or 6 Americans.
Don't put them here. Keep separated. Pull them back. Bring them on back here. You can't put 10 on there at a time. Get the weapons there, put them on their feet, their heads, on their heads. All right, Steve, give me that one.
Put his hands on this thing here, back him off. Move it.
This place was well booby-trapped. After you got through the village, you searched and seizure. Some of you walked up and stepped on the steps, and a booby trap went off. There was a dead man laying by the door.
On the way to Vietnam, Tour of duty, 12 months. And as these men move out, others who know the rice paddies and the jungles and the tiny, deadly villages will be moving home.
That is not the way to search and seizure a house of any type.
Many will move from here, Camp Alpha, the replacement depot or Repel Depot in Saigon. In Vietnam, they call these men short-timers. They're on their way stateside.
Broaden next, James L.
Today, draftees make up 20% of the 215,000 men serving in Vietnam. The proportion is expected to go higher as more troops are sent.
Quickly, hurry, Captain! We're not, out the 83rd. We're going home 1700 this afternoon. Don't forget, bag and bag at the front gate, get your bill-in cards turned in, get your cleared cards, and be at the front gate. There you go home at 1700 hours. Move out.
Men going home, men needed to replace them, from Local Board 71, Topeka, Kansas, from draft boards everywhere. That's why the draftee is the man of the month, this month, and most likely in the months ahead.